All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results positive or not.
Tuned in to the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the Body Alchemist, Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome everybody and happy Friday. It is the 3rd of July. That's right. Tomorrow is the 4th of July and we are here. We are here. It's something to be said for the simplicity of that statement, but we are here. You are here. If you're tuning into this and you're listening, you are here. You are still here amidst all of the things going on in the world. I hope that your week was filled with nothing but happiness and health, and it was full of positivity. If not, I hope that your week will begin to become positive. We've got a great show for you today. We've got as special guests Guinness World Record holder in pull-ups, Mr. Adam Sandel, aka Professor Pull-Ups himself on Instagram. This was indeed an exciting show for me, just because of the fact we got to go back to something that is in my roots, the physicality aspect of being fit. Something that we, in this particular broadcast, we talk about, but we don't just pigeonhole or hold ourselves to just one view. When we talk about fitness, you know, we always are expressing the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health awareness, which is spiritual, mental, physical. All of those work hand in hand in everything. We talk about everything from financial fitness to mental fitness to physical fitness. So for me, I had a great time sitting down talking to Adam about his accomplishments and how he got into the world of calisthenics competition, the elite world of calisthenics competition. If you're not familiar with this, I would invite any of you who are a fan of athletics to pay attention to this. There are individuals who have specialized in body weight training, who have developed enormous talents, skills, abilities in the endeavors of quote unquote what is entitled functional skills, strength, and abilities. And it is a feat to see some of the things that these young men and women are able to do and accomplish with their imaginations, with their discipline, with their drive, and just through consistency. It's a treat, and I take inspiration from that. So I had a great time interviewing Adam, and I think that many of you out there will have a great time enjoying this. If you're just a fan of fitness, or just want to learn about something new, maybe the world of calisthenics is new to you, maybe you've been reading about it, specifically because we've been in lockdown and pandemic times, you can't go to a gym. Maybe you're like, I want to keep myself physically fit, Well, this was definitely, and I know this was a treat for me, and I know this will definitely be a treat for all of you out there. So just a great time getting to talk about protocols where it comes to training and many other exciting details. So we're going to get right into that. Not going to pause too much, but just wanted to serve up an apt introduction for the one and only Adam Sandel. All right, guys, let's get into this interview right now. After these messages, that is. After these messages. All right. De La Fit Podcast is sponsored by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, Recovery for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out www.mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at MNTMADE. I started using Mountain Made's Build CBD tablets to help me with the injury in my elbow. And let me tell you something. Not only is the injury subsided, but now I can do push-ups and I'm back to bench pressing. So I encourage anybody who's interested to look up, check out Mountain Made and all their products. I think you'll be glad you did. What's going on, everybody? It's Philly's #1 son. Listen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you how to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a stunning podcast in one place. So listen, if you want to be like me and have your own podcast, go to anchor.com. That's anchor.com.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
Welcome back to the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. That is the De La Fit Podcast. You know, we always talk about why we have our program the way that it's set up. It's always about holistic fitness from the 360 degrees point of view. Not just protein shakes and barbell plates, but everything that we need to survive on this plane of existence. Most of the time, people always think it's about fitness, and all of these other things, and lifting, and you know that might be how other programs, other health programs work, and that's great for them. But we're a little different. But I always like to take it back to the core because you know that's where I come from. I'm a physical trainer, and my love of being active. One of the things I like to pursue is my love of push-ups and pull-ups, more so pull-ups. And if any of you follow me on Instagram, you know, you can see all the stuff I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of pull-ups and then I do some weight work, but I love pull-ups. It's something about being able to move your own body. It's raw. It's strength personified. Yes, I can lift weights. Gangster. And then I can pull my own body weight up, man. Who has never looked at a gymnast and said, that is 100% badass? Well, guess what? I have with me a special guest. I have a Guinness Book of Record holder when it comes to pull-ups. If I am correct, I have the one, the only Professor Pull-Ups. If you follow him on Instagram, that's definitely his name, Mr. Adam Sandel. Adam, are you on the line with us? How are you today?
I am. Hello, Sun Moon. It's great to be with you.
All right. It's great to be with you, too. How's everything going with you?
Things are good. You know, it's been a bit of a challenge, as it is for everybody during the pandemic, to stay fit, to stay positive. But, you know, it's been a great chance to connect virtually with people, to embrace opportunities like this one, and even to have some video workouts. And, you know, I've been trying to make the most of it.
Let's get into this conversation, because where did your fitness journey begin? Because a lot of people, you know, they have their own stories of why they got into athletics or how they got into athletics. But first of all, your moniker, Professor Pull-Ups, that's not something that sounds good. You are a professor, am I correct?
Yes. So my day job is teaching philosophy at Harvard University. So I've been doing that for the past 6 years. And alongside that, I've been pursuing this passion for calisthenics, for pull-ups, for fitness generally. So Professor Pull-Ups captures those two aspects of my identity.
Walk us down this road of your journey into calisthenics. Why calisthenics? When did this all start?
Well, there's a long story and a short story. You want the long one or the short one first? Because the long one is how I got into athletics, which goes all the way back to playing baseball. The short one goes back about to 2014 when I first got introduced to calisthenics. Maybe I can start with 2014 and then I can kind of fill in the background as we go. Maybe it makes sense to begin there.
Okay. Well, let's do it.
So I'd always been into fitness, playing a lot of baseball. Initially started lifting weights at the end of high school to get stronger for baseball. Started picking up just typical gym stuff for its own sake. So fast forward to 2014, you know, I'm doing squats and bench press and pull-ups and push-ups, you know, everything that one would do in the gym. I'd gotten a little bit into these competitive gym games at a local Boston sports club that one of the trainers organized. And it was like 12 different events, basic movements. How many reps can you do in 1 minute or sometimes 2 minutes? So that was my first introduction to calisthenics. Even though I didn't even know it by the name calisthenics, it was just body weight exercises. Sometimes it was weight, like how many can you rep out with on the bench press with 135. So it wasn't all calisthenics, but, you know, push-ups, pull-ups, things like that, agility, shuttle run, that sort of thing. So I'm sitting drinking a morning coffee. It's like July 2014. Actually, it might have been 2015. Sitting reading the Boston Globe, and just below the fold on the front page, there was an article about a guy who lived just about 45 minutes north of me, whose name was Ron Cooper. And the article caught my attention because he had just set a world record for most pull-ups in a minute while wearing a 40-pound backpack. So I looked at the article. I said, wow, I'm about to go in myself to do pull-ups and have a little competition for 1 minute pull-ups as part of these gym games. This is motivation right here. This guy who lives just north of me can do 25 pull-ups. That was the record at the time, Guinness record, with 40 pounds in the backpack. So I said, this is super cool. It's motivating. I got to go meet this guy. And at that moment, I just said, all right, I'm gonna reach out to him. So I sent him a YouTube video of me doing pull-ups just to show him I was, you know, not some crazy fan who could do like 1 or 2 pull-ups, you know, and just kind of wanted to work out with him without much background. So I sent him the video, sent him a message, and he got back to me. He said, hey, let's train together. Invited me to come up to his gym, and he began to show me the ropes of how he trained for Guinness World Records. Because before that, I didn't know that there were even Guinness World Records for pull-ups. I just worked out to have fun and to compete a little bit at this local level. So that moment, July 2015, I guess it was the beginning of my calisthenics journey and lead up to this training to set the world record for most pull-ups in a minute.
I follow Ron Cooper, and I just have to say that Ron is a hell of a nice guy. I've never met him personally, but I've talked to him through Instagram, and I love his challenges. He's always great at motivating people. And if anybody, if you're into any type of body weight or training period, I recommend that you definitely hit him up. He's just a super cool, really nice, motivating guy.
That's absolutely right. I mean, he's a generous guy. He's a tough competitor as well. So in tandem, we started to train together and innovate together, because not a lot of people were doing this, trying to maximize the number of pull-ups in 1 minute. We were doing it at a high level, so we were kind of pioneers. Not that there weren't other athletes who were at a top level, who set the stage and who provided the background and the history and the motivation, whose videos we were watching on YouTube. Shout
out to guys like Juice, Hannibal, Fit Semi, and all those guys out there, that Brooklyn constituency that is very strong in New York.
Absolutely, and I've had the opportunity, the pleasure to link up with some of those guys and to join Boss Life Athletics, actually, this past year, which has been a huge boost to my training, which we can discuss further if you'd like. But absolutely, when I say that Ron and I were pioneers, I mean we were innovators on the basis of a long tradition. But playing around with this 1 minute pull-ups format, because it's something special, it's unique to be able to do as many pull-ups as you can, as fast as you can, while maintaining the correct form for Guinness World Records. So we were going kind of riffing off of each other, and he had an approach where he would do lots of reps in a fairly short period of time. So his workouts lasted like an hour. Whereas I would like to do fewer reps, add more weight, take more rest, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes.
That's kind of progressive overload, almost like a power lifter.
Exactly. So it was powerlifting, powerlifting style training, which was my background, actually. From 2008 to 2012, while I was in graduate school, I competed in powerlifting. So that was before I got into calisthenics. That's kind of like a piece of the pre-story, if you will, to the calisthenics journey of mine.
Awesome.
So it was me kind of bringing the powerlifting mentality, and him bringing the, okay, let's get back to the next set. We're up. 30 seconds is up. 1 minute is up. Let's do a 10-minute EMOM, which is every minute on the minute. So his style was different from mine, but we also converged in some interesting ways. So, for example, we only did pull-ups training twice a week, Monday, Friday. And we both had that independently. And it surprises a lot of people to learn that people setting Guinness World Records for pull-ups only train pull-ups twice a week. But that's what both of us were doing.
Okay, all right. So wait, before we progress, because now you've piqued my interest in this, Adam. So, all right, we already know that you brought to it like a powerlifter's mentality where it comes to the training of pull-ups. And for those of our listeners out there who may not be familiar with the powerlifting training, powerlifting is more of they're trying to move weight. They're trying to make their body strong to move weight. So it's maximized weight resistance training with longer periods of rest, because they're trying to recuperate their nervous system. Whereas it seems like Ron was almost doing a style of bodybuilding, building those endurance muscles, that hypertrophy, so that, you get accustomed over long periods of time, that muscle endurance. And that's a truly unique style that the two of you are doing. But now you're letting all these days of recuperation go into it. So I just wanted to fill that little background for some of our listeners who might not understand the training differences and nuances between the two. So please continue.
Yeah, so we were doing 2 pull-ups workouts per week, but we were working out probably 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. So when we weren't doing pull-ups, it would be a push day. So it would be dips, it would be push-ups. It would be weighted push-ups with a backpack, weighted dips, squats. Contrary to some perceptions out there, I do train legs pretty heavily,
I'm glad you spoke on that. That's something that many calisthenics athletes have to always deal with. Where are your legs? What are you doing? A lot of bodybuilders and powerlifters and people who are gym lifters, they're like, they don't have any legs, but I'm glad you responded to that.
And that's the outsider perspective, because anybody who knows calisthenics well will realize that actually the core and the legs do come into play in a full body movement. It's not just like you're isolating your arms and your back when you're doing a pull-up. Those are the primary muscles that are working. But really, to do the movement efficiently, you have to have the whole body working together in unison. You got to keep the core tight, the glutes tight, especially if the competition rules specify that the legs have to be straight and you can't break at the waist, which means that your knees kind of come up as you pull, which is one of the Guinness World Record rules. You're allowed to have a little bit of sway, but you're not allowed to break at the waist to generate momentum by kind of bringing your knees up. So that's where actually leg work comes into play. So it's really a full body training program, even if you want to get good at one specific thing like pull-ups. I really believe that actually for any major athletic movement, you need to have everything working.
Adam, let's deal with this, because I know some people are going to sit there and they're going to wonder, who might not be into this, but they're like, why pull-ups? Why pull-ups of all things? Why the pull-up?
Well, there are two answers. One is personal. I just discovered that I was good at pull-ups relative to other exercises, and I liked them. I thought they were fun. So that's kind of just the very basic, honest answer. That whereas with other exercises, I got good, especially if I trained it hard, back to powerlifting, squats, deadlift, bench press. I just wasn't as good at those exercises as I was at pull-ups. For a while in my life, I was working all of those exercises just as hard, but everybody's body is built differently. And I just realized at a certain point, I wasn't going to be that guy who could bench a ton of weight or squat, 500 pounds at 150 pounds body weight, which is the kind of squat you need actually to be really competitive, even at a light body weight like mine, at a kind of, regional or
regional or state. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just a strength, but I guess there's a deeper reason too, a kind of spiritual, philosophical reason, that I just think there's something so thrilling about the pull-up, moving your own body weight, getting yourself above the bar. There's something fundamental. There's something liberating about it that is just you and the bar, nothing else. And let's see how many reps you can do. And there's a history to it. There's a reason why the pull-up is the staple of many military tests. Mm-hmm. It's a functional movement. If you need to get yourself over a wall, you got to do the pull-ups motion. Even if you're closing the windows in your house at night, right? You're reaching up and pulling down.
That's true.
Kind of pull-up motion. So it's one of those very basic functional human motions that just felt natural, felt right to me, and that attracted me. And I think maybe even just going back to gym class when you're little, the PE teacher will say, how many pull-ups can you do? Let's see. It's like one of the very basics. Pull-ups, maybe a mile run, see how fast you can run a mile. But there's certain benchmark exercises of overall fitness, the pull-up being one of them, and I just took to it.
It's one of the staples I know in combat arts and sports. There was a very popular coach. I think he was I don't know if he was college or Olympic coach, but a very popular coach at one time, and he used to train the athletes, whereas if they could do 50 nonstop pull-ups, this was his statement, and I'm going to find this, so I'm going to see if I can pull this up. If they could do 50 nonstop pull-ups, he knew they could be an Olympic champion, and he would train the different athletes. Any athlete that came to him that was like, listen, I want to be a great wrestler, a great amateur wrestler, and I want to be an Olympic wrestler. What do I need to do? And that was his very words. You need to be able to do 50 nonstop reps of pull-ups, which for a lot of individuals out there listening, that is an insane amount of pull-ups. But let's be real. And I know what you were saying, Adam. It's a functional exercise, but a lot of people don't understand. That's some physical strength. You are pulling your entire body weight.
It's very difficult, and a lot of very good athletes actually can't do a pull-up, depending on what the sport is, how they're built. It's very tough.
Yes, a lot of power lifters and bodybuilders cannot do a lot of pull-ups as well. That's
right, and it's one reason why I think a max pull-up set is a good test of overall fitness, as you were saying. I mean, that's quite a statement that if you could do 50 pull-ups, you could be an Olympic athlete. I mean, I wish it were true in my case, but it's a cool thing to think about. But, even if you can do 10 pull-ups, and especially if you can do more than 10, say like 20 pull-ups, as a guy, you have to be in good overall shape, because you have to be lean enough that you're not pulling so much weight that it becomes such a strength exercise. And you also have to have the muscle and the quickness.
Very, very true. So what just came into your mind? Like, I want to be in the Guinness World Records for this. How did you walk into that? Like, was it just like you woke up one day, it's like, I think I want to be a Guinness World Record holder. Is that how it happened, or how?
No, it definitely wasn't. It was after linking up with Ron Cooper and training, and then realizing, hey, I can do it. I think I can get that 40-pound backpack record. And that was the record I was focused on at first. He had set it at 25, and I was pretty good at weighted pull-ups. I had been training a lot with the 45 plate, and I thought I could do it. So I started arranging my whole training plan to best target 1 minute pull-ups with a 40-pound backpack. And in the next year, so skipping ahead to summer 2016, Ron Cooper and I both on the same day made an attempt for the 40-pound record, which had then been increased to 27, set by a man in Greece, actually. And so we both together each did our best attempt, and we didn't know who was going to be the better of the two of us. It just so happened that we both got 29 reps.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it was this cool, friendly competition moment where he and I both hit 29. And from there, we were training together, and I began to realize that actually bodyweight pull-ups were my strength even more than weighted pull-ups. And it was just kind of messing around in training. At the end of the workout, we would do burnout sets at 20, sets at 30. And I started to realize that I was getting quicker at the body weight, kind of played around with my grip, watching other elite athletes who were competing at a high level for body weight, and kind of honed the technique, honed a wider grip, which was a little tricky at first, but I got used to it. And then you can get a lot of reps in within a minute. And in December, just at the end of 2016, I was able to break the body weight record, which at that point was 50 reps by Michael Eckert, who's a big pull-ups fitness figure. And so I was able to get 51. So that was the first record break. And then there was a whole story to how it went from 51 to 68, with a lot of competitors in between taking the record and then me having to take it back and forth.
So wait a minute, Adam. I love the way you say it. I love the way you're speaking about this, because you're like, and then we went from 50 to 68. Let me slow it down for all the people out there listening, because I know they're just like, this is unbelievable. We're talking about some Marvel hero type of Captain America, Miss Marvel type of strength. All right. So it was 51, and then somebody took it to 68 pull-ups continuously. Am I correct?
Yes.
So, all right, let's break it down, because I know many individuals out there probably have questions. So let's start right there. What type of physical strength and endurance is it that we're dealing with that type of elite athletics? This is not this is not like, I'm just gonna run downstairs and do a 60 or 70 pull-ups right now. This is an elite feat. So what type of strength and endurance are we talking about for those who are, it's new and they've never thought about it to this level?
It's very tough. It requires a lot of smart training, and it requires a lot of a build-up. So it's definitely not the case that you just wake up one morning, you realize you're good at pull-ups, and you test your max every day and gradually move from 45 to 50 to 51 to 56 to 60. No, you have to plan it out. It's a long process. Even now, if I don't have a good 12-week training phase, I'm not going to be close to 68 pull-ups. Maybe I could get 50 something. But to get to the 68, it takes weeks of very smart, phased training. So by that, I mean, you write it out. I often write out my training plan in advance. It doesn't have to be exact, but like a 12 to 16 week plan, ideally, where week 1, you're going to get all of the reps. By week 6 or 8, you're still probably going to get all the reps. So toward the end of the workout, you may have to kind of get off the bar, shake your arms to kind of regroup, and then finish off your reps. And then by the end of the training phase, it's really tough. So you might be failing reps at the end of sets. That's what's really kind of pushing you to the next level. So it's a whole process leading up to the record attempt day. And we can get into some of the details of exactly the reps and sets if you'd like.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the De La Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Before we do that, let's deal with the nutrition as well as the frame of mind. Let's start with the frame of mind first, because again, and me, I'm just going to use myself. My first goal was to get to 20 pull-ups, and I got to 20 pull-ups, but there's a mind shift for me that I needed in order to do it, because that, when you're used to doing just sets of 10, you're like, all right, that's good. And for a lot of us guys out there, when I say guys, I'm grouping guys as men and women, anybody that's gym or athletic or just wants to like to work out as a group. A lot of us were like 10, that's it, I'm good. Getting into the mindset, at least for me, it was going past that burn, because that's one hell of a burn when you're doing pull-ups. So tell me, what's the mindset that you're taking when you're getting involved in something like that? How do you shift your mind?
That's a great question. So the mind shift for me is on all fronts. So you mentioned lifestyle, nutrition, what you're eating, how you prepare yourself to get into the gym, and then how do you channel full focus to push through that burn during the workout. And as to the latter question, I just try to focus all of my attention on the technique and the quickness, to take my mind to something very simple about the form and to distract myself from the burn. Sometimes it's little things that I tell myself. So one thing that I say, and it's often before the set, right before the set rather than during, because you don't really want to be thinking too much during the set. You just kind of want to do it. But like the split second before you grab the bar, I'll tell myself something like, think up before you're down.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean do a half rep, but especially if I'm pushing through, if I'm going to do a set where I'm going to have to push through the burn, or where I'm going to do a weighted pull-up, where the weight is really going to pull me down because I've added weight to a weight belt for an enhanced training effect, I'll say think up before you're down. And that just kind of zaps me into attention. Like, don't let the weight control you. Don't, whether it's your own body weight or whether it's weight added, don't let that control you. You control the weight. So it's almost like as you're pulling up, before you get all the way to the bottom, you're thinking, I'm going to fire up as fast as I can and pull myself through the ceiling. That's another thing I like to think about, especially because I practice a lot of chest to bar reps, or even bar to belt buckle reps, where you're pulling higher than you need to actually pull for the competition, because competition says chin over. That's it. But if you want to be good at chin over reps, make them feel easy, you pull high. So just little slogans like that, like pull yourself through the ceiling, think up before you're all the way down. I feel like that channels the right mental and physical energy.
Okay. And let's go to your nutrition. So for practicing for record or competition, and shout out to Pull Up Park Jam. Unfortunately, they canceled this year's. I was hoping I would be able to make my first performance there, but look, we've already talked about we're living through this pandemic time, but talk about preparing for a competition. Let's start with your training, and then what's your nutrition like? What are you intaking? What is it that you like to ingest more than others? How's your carb intake?
With nutrition, I basically try to keep it balanced. So I've experimented once in a while with certain diets. Actually went through a phase over the winter where I was doing a vegan diet for a good stretch of weeks, influenced by a lot of my fellow Boss Life athletes who were performing at a very high level doing a vegan diet. And I felt good. And I know there are some elite athletes who swear by a vegan diet. So I'll experiment with stuff like that. But to be perfectly honest, I haven't stuck by any particular diet. But what I do try to do is always eat healthy. So just, cut out the junk food, chips and dessert and soda, stuff like that. I don't really eat. I have dessert once in a while. I'm not like a super strict person because I do believe in kind of a training life balance. I don't want the training to totally, consume my life to the point where I don't take advantage of an opportunity to go out to a nice meal or to have a nice home cooked meal at a friend's house if it's, a little bit carby or whatever. But basically just try to get enough protein and try to eat healthy carbs. I think carbs are essential for athletic performance, but there's such a wide range of carbs. So I try to eat things like whole wheat, brown rice, sweet potatoes, fruit, vegetables. It's common sense, really. I think it's kind of like what your mom always told you growing up, eat your broccoli,
right.
Eat spinach. It's like, there's not much more to it than that. And I think a lot of the vegan diet, a lot of the benefit from it just comes from the consumption of a lot of vegetables, honestly, vegetables, fruit, all the vitamins, nutrients that you get from that is so crucial to your body's ability to recover. And I think that's a pretty universally accepted standard for any athletic diet. So I just try to be balanced. And a big thing for me is sleep, actually. And I know that it's a big thing for a lot of people because we work a job and our days are hectic. If you've got a family, you've got kids, it's you're juggling a lot of responsibilities at once, and it's very easy to lose sleep. You only end up getting a few hours of sleep sometimes. And I just try to remind myself to get sleep when I can get sleep. It's easy to fall into a habit of sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night because often you're forced to do so. But to really try to conscious of making room for sleep when you can make room for it, because sleep equals recovery.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's a very nice way to segue into my next question was, how do you how are you able to keep the mindset of recovery and rest, especially dealing with everything that we're dealing with right now? Most of the world has lost some type of sleep or rest, where we're dealing with thoughts of the world, whether it's pandemic, coronavirus, or it's the protests, dealing with what's been going on, George Floyd and other things of this nature. I mean, it seems right now we are in a very, very hectic, chaotic world. How are you able to maintain your balance and your mindset so that you can get rest? Because I know how it is for me, the worry of my family and health and things like that. 5 hours seems like the most I'm able to get consistently. So what about yourself? How much do you sleep? Do you go for the 8 hours? And how do you get yourself in that proper mindset to be able to?
Yeah. 8 hours is my gold standard. I try to get 8 hours every night. And
okay.
I don't always succeed, sometimes it'll be 5, 6, 7, but I try for 8. And some professional athletes, like the tennis player Roger Federer, he sleeps like 10 hours. He claims 8 hours of sleep and then a 2-hour nap during the day. Now, his lifestyle is organized around tennis, so he can find time in his day to do that. But, I try to take a leaf out of his book, and a lot of athletes who try for that 8. One thing though that I do tell myself is that if you care about something, if you're devoted, you can get by with less sleep. Like, I've had nights where I didn't sleep at all before a competition or a record attempt, just because you're thinking ahead, you're excited, you're anxious, you are envisioning the next day, and it's kind of hard to fall asleep. But in those situations, I tell myself, look, it's the training, it's the habits you've built up over the weeks and months that's going to carry you through. So even if you don't sleep at all, come game day, adrenaline's going to kick in, you'll be focused and you'll be fine. So it's a balance between trying to make that time in your day to relax a little bit, to get to sleep a little earlier. But then on the flip side, just telling yourself, don't worry too much about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you don't get the sleep, you don't get it. You're going to perform anyway. Don't let that be a mental block to your performance or even to your workout. So it's those two things, but then also I would say in a larger sense, and this goes beyond how to get a good night's sleep, but it relates to it, is just to try to have a philosophical approach to life, to everything you do. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the goals that we set for ourselves, where we're so intently focused on accomplishment that we forget to appreciate the way of life that we bring to expression in working toward the goals. So to try to keep the way of life in view. And by that, I mean understanding what you do, whatever it is, whether it's training for a pull-ups record or whether it's another fitness goal, or whether it's a project, a hobby, whether it's your work, whatever it is that you're doing, to try to appreciate it as something that draws together the many aspects of your life, and that's therefore above accomplishment and achievement. I think about the way in which working out affects other things I do, like when I'm in the classroom teaching philosophy. I try to channel the positive energy that I take from working out and apply it to that other setting. So when you make comparisons and draw analogies like that between different aspects of your life, I think you live a more integrated existence, which provides some comfort because it takes you beyond the pressure to get stuff done, to check boxes, to set personal records, to reach milestones, all of which are good, but it's not what's most important. So kind of bringing it back to your life, what you stand for, who you are, how your activities fit together, I think is the key. And it's easier said than done, but it's something that I really try to focus on in my life and to be conscious of, and to actually use philosophy to help motivate me.
You have trained and competed along individuals like we talked about earlier, like Juice, Fit Semi. There's more amazing individuals out there. Let me ask you this question. This is something I often see on social media, and I'm sure you probably had this question asked of you, and people say things. That it's always the thing of building muscle. You can't build muscle just doing body weight. You can't do it that way. It's impossible. And what do you say to individuals who have limited their mind to just one style of training? And what do you think of this type of mindset personally?
I don't think it's right. I also don't want to say, if lifting weights is your thing and that's what gets you jazzed and you love to go to the gym and hit the bench press, who am I to tell you not to? You can definitely get strong and build muscle and be healthy and fit, motivated that way. But it's definitely untrue that you can't develop a hugely muscular physique doing calisthenics alone. And guys I watch on YouTube, like Juice, like Hannibal, these classic figures who are just some of the biggest, most ripped guys you'll see, who are basically doing bodyweight calisthenics, totally disproves that theory.
What are the strength benefits that you've seen just in your ordinary life with your training?
Oh, that's a good question. It's something that I don't necessarily pay a lot of conscious attention to because I'm so focused on how I perform in the workouts. But outside of the workouts, I think just a sense of general well-being is the most obvious thing. Just feeling relaxed throughout the rest of the day after you've crushed a hard workout, especially if it's a reps workout, like a calisthenics workout where it's both strength and aerobic, strength and cardio, where you really get a full body workout and the rest of the day just flows a lot nicer. You just are almost looking forward to doing things that you otherwise would be like, man, I don't really want to have to sit down and get to work. But no, after you've worked out, it's almost like a refreshing contrast. So it just is general well-being. But also functionally, I think that I've been in it so long that it's kind of hard to remember what I felt like before, but just basic things, that we would do on an everyday basis. Walking up and down flights of stairs, it's like, not a big deal. Though my legs still burn. It's interesting. It's like some basic movements. It's like I could kick it into gear. You know what I mean? It's like you can, when you train at a high level, you can always find another gear and another gear and another gear. But then some things you're like, nah, I just feel like an average person. Like it's probably just as hard for this other guy to walk up the stairs, maybe there's a bit of a difference, but it's like, I think the payoff for me is mainly just the kind of relaxation and sense of well-being throughout the rest of the day. And things fit together. Like when I'm in a good training phase, I'm eating better. I'm not eating as much. I'm spacing it out more, kind of eating when I'm hungry. And your body kind of, I think, gets into a good rhythm and everything kind of fits together if you're on a good training schedule. And that doesn't need to be an elite schedule. It could be training to get your first pull-up. If you're consistent with it, if you're doing a workout that's hard for you, everything else will kind of fall into place. You'll get that great feeling after the workout. Your diet will fall into place.
Adam, I want to continue this, but my one of my partners is giving me a wave through. 3 tips. This is a part of the interview. We always like to have a guest come and give 3 tips, advice that they feel will help the listener to progress in their lives. 3 tips that you would give to anybody listening right now who wants to either, and it doesn't just have to be dealing with just competing. It could be getting into calisthenics, or it could just be health-wise or mental. 3 tips that have helped you overall in your career.
That's a great question. So the first tip, and I think this applies to life as well as to training, is to strengthen your strengths. I think a lot of people, when they think about how to structure a training program, think about how to bring their weak points up to par. And that's fine. But it's not the most motivating or inspiring way to go about what you do. I think much better is to find that exercise that you're the best at, or maybe that you just like a little bit more than other exercises. For me, it was pull-ups. But to find that one exercise and step back and say, how am I going to train to strengthen that strength, to make myself the best I can be at that one exercise? And what you find, interestingly enough, is that in order to be as good as you can be at that one thing, you also have to strengthen your weak points. So it's not like you neglect your weak points, and it's not like you get kind of tunnel vision in a negative way. It's just that you have laser focus on what you love most, and then start pulling everything into that. And it's much more inspiring to go into the gym saying, okay, now today I'm going to be doing some squats and push-ups, even though they're not my favorite exercise, but I know those are going to make me better at pull-ups because the body works together. You need that core, you need that opposite motion with the push to get as good as you can at pull-ups. So all of a sudden your weak point training has been turned into a means for strengthening your strength. And it's much more inspiring. So that's point number one. Point number two, have an awareness of the difference between passion and obsession.
Okay.
And it comes down to balance and what we were discussing before, that when I think of passion, I think of an activity that you just love it for its own sake. Whether you hit your PR in pull-ups or not, you just love doing pull-ups. And to try to devote yourself with passion to the activities that you care about and not fall victim to the temptation that all of us face to get too wrapped up in the accomplishment, in the end, in the goal, in a way that then kind of crowds out other aspects of your life where you're kind of like thinking pull-ups day and night. And, you know, I have to plead guilty once in a while to that, where I'm like sitting at my desk and I'm distracted and I'm counting the reps I'm going to do the next day and I'm not focusing on my writing or teaching or something. You know, it's like we all do that, but
right.
It's a natural human pitfall. But to try to bring yourself back to the passionate engagement with something where you say, okay, well, if I find myself kind of getting obsessed or thinking about it, in a way that's distracting me from other activities, how can I get creative and actually bring that activity to bear on what I'm doing here and now? So finding creative ways to draw lessons, life lessons, from the activity that you're doing. Again, whether it's athletic or creative in some other way, or whether it's your day job, whatever it is, try to think of ways to bring the energy of that sphere into other spheres of life. So that would be point two. And point three, which I think grows out of point two, is to appreciate the journey of life, and to appreciate the path and the obstacles and the overcoming of obstacles more than the achievements. That at the end of the day, what makes the achievement have significance for you is the path it took to get you there. So to be mindful of the path, and that includes friendship, the people that you meet, the mentors who have helped you along the way and who you've been able to help as well, the partnerships that you form, the opportunities that you get that go far beyond setting a pull-up record or running a mile as fast as you can. The way it kind of makes your life an adventure, something you want to keep going with, and to keep in mind that all accomplishments, whether it's a Guinness World Record in pull-ups or whether it's some legendary athletic feat like Usain Bolt's 100-meter record, even all of these things one day are going to be eclipsed by someone, or maybe the world evolves and people don't value the activities that we strive so much to to be excellent at today. Who knows in 100, 200, 1,000 years, whether you care how fast you can run 100 meters. But what does not fade away, what people at all times will be interested in and will draw inspiration from, is the character that you develop and display and the lessons that you are able to take away and pass on to others from the activities that you pursue. So I think being attentive to the journey and putting the end, the accomplishment in perspective.
Adam Sandel, Adam, do us a favor. First of all, thank you for coming on to the show. I enjoyed this immensely. You're one of the individuals I look to where it comes to inspiration and motivation for pull-ups and strength. I was able to reach out to you earlier before I was following you on Instagram, and you were gracious enough to give me some pointers on how to strengthen my pull-ups. And I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to actually speak with you. For anybody else that's out there who may want to contact you or maybe get pointers from you or just follow you on your social media, where can they do this? How can they contact you? How can they reach out to you?
The best way is through Instagram at professor.pullups. And through email, adam.sandel@gmail.com. But I check Instagram regularly, so Instagram's probably the best way, to reach out, DM me for training tips and or whatever, fitness and philosophy thoughts, and I'm happy to respond.
Adam Sandel, everyone. Adam, thank you so much. We're going to definitely, we want you to come back to be back on our show and have more conversation. I know there's more questions I definitely would like to ask you. I'm sure our listeners are going to find this amazingly interesting, your philosophy and your pointers on this as well. We didn't get into, and I know a lot of people out there like, hey, wait a minute, you didn't even get to touch on the fact of how to maintain your physical physique when you're not in the gym and all that. We're going to get back to that. We're going to have that at a later date. I know so much has taken place, but we got to get ready to end it now. Adam has some other engagements. I have some other things brewing for the show, so we're going to call it right now, but we are going to have him back. Adam, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Well, thanks so much, Sun Moon. It's been a pleasure to be on the show.
Hey, you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcasts. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. So I want to thank Adam for coming on to the show. It was indeed an exciting interview for me, just because, again, as I said earlier in the broadcast, We talk about so many different topics, but one of my true loves is athletics. First of all, many of you may or may not know, I grew up in a house that was very focused on fitness and health, which is the reason why I am involved in De La Fit podcast to the degree that I am. My father every day did 100 did 100 push-ups, did I don't know how many different sit-ups, did pull-ups in different variations, would have us hold on to him while he did push-ups or pull-ups or any type of athletic movement exercise. And I just remember watching him do that and then going off to the gym to work out some more, and then come home, wash up, go to work. It was something that became ingrained in me. It was something that I learned to respect, but it was something that I learned to enjoy. Just really enjoy the movement, enjoy the good things that come from it. And I think Adam spoke to that so superbly, and just his endeavors. You know, I mean, first of all, he is what we describe, or what could be described, or what is described as a premier elite athlete. You heard him speak about the fact of doing as many as 60 pull-ups. If you have ever attempted to do pull-ups, for some of you out there listening, just doing one is difficult. But guess what? There's an enjoyment. First of all, you should be proud of yourself if you can get one pull-up, because a lot of people don't always realize what they're actually accomplishing. Let me paint a very apt picture for many of you out there who are listening. You are using all of the muscles in your body to pull your weight. If you can do a pull-up, that is an accomplishment. Even if you can't do a pull-up and you try, that's an accomplishment. That's the positivity of doing body weight exercise and training and movement. It's the fact of you're learning your body, because you're actually learning the skills of the movement to your body. That's why gymnastics is so good for young children, because it helps them as they grow older, knowing how their bodies function, how to properly hold your body in position, proper form, proper posture. These are things that work well with us as we grow older. They should never leave you. So if you attempt to pull up, and even if it was a struggle, but you did it, that's great. If you didn't, but you tried, that's awesome. Because every muscle in your body is working. And if you continue to do it and develop, and you're able to do two, keep doing it. Keep doing it. It is a wonderful art-esque ballet of athleticism. It is something to be said with that. So use that tool. Whatever weight that you are, if you're 100 pounds, 90 pounds, 200 pounds, think of this. When you're pulling your body weight, you're pulling that amount of weight. That's something to be said. That is something to really think about and truly behold. We really don't think about these things because we see individuals who might practice the skill a little bit more than us, and we say, wow, they're able to do this. And we take it and we sometimes compound on ourselves these negative vibes and feelings. Don't do that. Understand that it's the trying, it's the journey. And as you continue to walk the journey of learning yourself, you will find some amazing treasures for you. I think calisthenics, I think weightlifting, I think any athletic endeavor, dancing, I think any athletic endeavor that allows you to learn more about yourself is worth doing. So I just wanted to give you my spiel on how I feel about things of this nature, because I am definitely passionate about it. I love the feeling that I get after a good, solid, movement-based session. And for some of you out there, you might notice at times I don't always say exercise. Although it is an exercise, I say movement because some people have trauma-based triggering where it comes to things like exercise, certain words like exercise. And many individuals aren't introduced to exercise in the appropriate way that I feel. To some, it might be a punishment. To some, they weren't properly taught how things are done, what to do. Some people, when they walk into an environment that is really supposed to promote athletics, they're not brought into it the right way, and body shaming can come into play. You know what? Nobody should ever be shamed when they come into an environment of athletics, because it's about learning your body. The true task, the true tool is about learning about yourself. We need to take that whole negativity away from it and start relearning ourselves. And this is a perfect tool to help relearn about ourselves. I love when I see young men and women go into an athletic facility and do things and learn, and especially when I see young girls get in there and they're doing pull-ups and things like that. It's a joy, because you know what? We need to get rid of these stereotypes, these negativities that separate us when it comes to things like that. I like to see young men and women together working out, really enjoying it. You know, don't get me started, guys. I'm on a tangent. But anyway, let's get back to it. Adam, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I greatly appreciate you. We're definitely going to have him or try to have him come back. I know there are many questions many of you all will have, but I enjoyed this interview so much. It was a treat for me, and I hope it was a treat for you. As always, everybody, if you like the type of interviews we do, if you like what we're doing here at the De La Fit Podcast, and you want us to do more, please do us the favor. Follow us on our social media and share. Sharing is always caring, as my beautiful nieces say, which they learn in their awesome schools. Sharing is caring, uncle, and that is truly true. So please share. If you are on Instagram, follow us at DE_LA_Fit Podcast. If you are on Twitter, follow us at De La Fit Podcast. If you are on Facebook, follow us at De La Fit Podcast. If you just want to go to our website at www.delafitpodcast. And you can always contact us and email us on any of our platforms. But if you want to contact us directly, you want that immediate connection, you can always contact us at delafit13@gmail.com. Please hit us up. We will always respond. I keep it on my phone, so anytime somebody sends a question and it's addressed to me, the host, or any of our guests, guess what? Right through our phone, I can hear it. So please feel free, reach out, communicate, contact us. We will definitely respond. I hope that you all, again, enjoyed this interview, and I hope that you all have a wonderful, amazing weekend. Please be safe. I know the 4th is here. I know many of us would like to celebrate, although it feels like in these times there's not much to celebrate. Celebrate because you are here, you are alive. And each day that you have to be alive is a chance for you to do better, be better, and do better. So please take care of yourselves. Have a beautiful, happy holiday, and be safe. As always, love yourself. I know, and if you love yourself and treat yourself correctly, I know that you're going to do your best to try to treat others the same way. Please have a great, happy, healthy day and week. Peace.
You've been listening to the De La Fit Podcast. Ta-ta for now.